Hi guys, thanks for coming to hear another story. So this is a book called Stella Louella's Runaway book. And this is Stella right there. She is Stella Louella, but where's her runaway book? So maybe you guys look at the back cover too. More people are running, but there's no book. So the runaway book is Stella's library book that has disappeared on the day it's due back to the library. So maybe something like this has happened to you guys. You might guess how she feels and how hard she tries to find it. Look at all those books. Stella Louella's Runaway book. Look at all the places she reads. Wonder where you guys do your reading. On Saturday morning, Stella's library book disappeared as if in a magic act. Stella was in a tizzy. She ran through the house searching frantically for the book, looking in the backs of closets, on the tops of shelves, in beds, baskets, bathtubs. She looked in toy boxes, toolboxes, even cereal boxes. The book was gone. "Great balls of fire!" shouted Stella's father. "What's going on?" "My library book has disappeared," Stella cried. It's due today by 5 o'clock. How will I ever tell Mrs. Graham at the library that I've lost it?" Stella burst into tears. "Simmer down," her father said. "Think, where did you last have it?" Stella squeezed her eyes closed and thought. "The hammock out back," she gasped. So when her dad says simmer down, think about what that means. What does simmer down mean? Stella ran to the hammock with her father close behind. The book was not there. Her little brother Sam was digging in the dirt below. "Sam," their dad said, "Stella's library book is missing. It's due today by 5 o'clock. Have you seen it?" "Yesterday?" Sam nodded. "It was a good book. I like the bears." "Where is it now?" asked Stella. "I left it on the front porch," Sam answered, "by the mailbox." Uh-oh. I wonder if the mailman's what he's gonna do with it. Stella ran to the front porch with Sam and her father close behind. No book in sight. But just then, Wally Hansen walked up. "Mr. Hansen," Sam called, "my sister's library book is lost. It has to get back to the library by 5 o'clock. Have you seen it?" "Oh, that was yours," Wally groaned. "Oh, it was mixed in with the mail. I wasn't sure where it came from. Good book, though, especially when they go on a walk." "Where is it now?" Stella asked anxiously. "Oh, I left it at the house in the corner," he said. "I thought it might belong to the little girl who lives there, Tiffany Ann." Stella ran to the corner house with Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. "Mrs. Graham will be furious with me," Stella moaned. Tiffany Ann was sitting on the steps, combing her hair. "Tiffany Ann," called Wally, "we're looking for Stella's library book. It's due today by 5 o'clock. Did you find it?" "Oh, hey, great book," said Tiffany. Tiffany Ann, "I loved the little girl." "Where is it?" begged Stella. "Oh, I thought it must have been reported missing," Tiffany Ann said. "So I gave it to Officer Tim when he walked by." So do you guys now have an idea of the title of the book? You have some clues? Stella ran all the way to the police station with Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. "Officer Tim! Officer Tim!" yelled Tiffany Ann. "Do you still have that book I gave you? It's Stella's, and it absolutely must go to the library by 5 o'clock. Negative," said Officer Tim. "I was on my way to return it, but I stopped by Wanda Lindy's diner to apprehend a cup of coffee and accidentally left it there. Interesting book, though. A classic case of unlawful entry. Better check the premises to see if it's still there." Stella ran fast and furious to Wanda Lynn's diner with Officer Tim, Tiffany, Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. "Mrs. Graham won't let me check out a book ever again," Stella fretted. "Wanda Lynn," barked Officer Tim, "have you seen a library book?" "Oh, it was here a minute ago," she said. "I love the part about the porridge." I bet you have an idea about what book it is now, you guys. "But where is it at?" pleaded Stella. "It's due at the library by 5 o'clock. You know how Mrs. Graham hates late books." "Oh, sorry, honey lamb," Wanda Lynn said. "I seem to remember Sal from the Fix-It shop picking it up." Oh my goodness. Look at all the people that have joined her, you guys. Stella ran pell-mell to Sal's Fix-It shop with Wanda, Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany, and Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. Sal, Sal, shouted Wandalin. Where's that book you picked up? Stella must get it back to the library at 5 o'clock. Oh, riveting book, Sal said, especially when that chair was broken. Please, oh please, begged Stella. Say you still have it here. I'm afraid not, Sal said. Morty from the bed bazaar asked to borrow it. Stella ran to the bed bazaar with Sam, Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally Sam, and her father close behind. Morty, called Sal, we've got a problem. That book you borrowed is Stella's. It's due to the library no later than 5 o'clock. Morty shook his head. Oh, a baby carried it off not 10 minutes ago. We just might be able to catch her. She's headed west on Elm Street with her mother. It was a terrific book, Morty raved as he joined the crowd. I love the part where the little girl tries out the beds. Stella moaned. Mrs. Graham will never believe this. Stella ran west on Elm Street with Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally Sam, and her father close behind. It was now 3 o'clock. Stop! Stop! Shouted Morty when they saw a baby carriage ahead. We need that book back. Stella's got to have it to the library by 5 o'clock. The mother turned around. Oh, I'm so sorry, dear, she said to Stella. It was a lovely book, especially the part about the nap. We gave it to a trustworthy troop of scouts headed south on Sycamore Street. What if I'm banned from the library? Sobbed Stella. The baby, too, began to cry. You know how babies are. Stella ran south on Sycamore Street with the baby and mother, Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. 2 blocks later, they spied the scouts. Hey, wait up! Yelled the baby's mother. There's been a mistake. That library book is Stella's, and it's due by 5 o'clock today. The weary scouts were returning from a long nature walk. We don't have it, said the exhausted scout leader. It was a good one, though, especially when the bears finally returned home. The scouts all nodded. We left it with Duff Morton. He stopped off at the park to work on his bug badge. I'll never get to read a library book again, whined Stella. Stella ran willy-nilly towards the park with a troop of scouts. The baby and mother, Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. It was now 4 o'clock. Duff, quick, shouted the scout leader. Hand over the book. It needs to get to the library by 5 o'clock. Duff looked up from his magnifying glass. Aha, he said, excellent book, especially when the bears discovered the girl. But I gave it to Miss Flint, the gym teacher, when she ran by. She was headed north. Stella now ran north with Duff Morton, the troop of scouts, the baby and mother, Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. Stop! Shouted Duff when Miss Lynn was in sight. Stella has to return the library book you have by 5 o'clock. But I don't have it, said Miss Flynn, still jogging. I love the ending, though, when the little girl ran through the forest. I left the book on the bench at the corner of 10th and Walnut. Maybe it's still there? I'll probably have to turn in my library card, sobbed Stella, still leading the way. So Stella ran to the corner of 10th and Walnut with Miss Flynn, Duff Morton, the troop of scouts, the baby and the mother, and Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. But when they arrived, the bench was empty. Everyone searched top to bottom. Stella's book simply wasn't there. What they did discover, though, was that the bench at 10th and Walnut was smack dab in front of the library. It was 10 minutes till 5 o'clock. I guess that's that, Stella said, choking back the tears. It's gone. I might as well go in and confess to Miss Graham. She will never, ever forgive me. I wonder what's going to happen. Make a prediction in your mind. Stella now walked as slow as molasses into the library with, well, everyone close behind. She thought about turning around and running, but it was no use. Mrs. Graham would track her down eventually. Then all too soon, Stella was at the front desk. She couldn't bear to look at Miss Graham in the eye. Wonderful Mrs. Graham, who had story hour every Saturday. Wonderful Mrs. Graham, who had always helped her find books. Wonderful Mrs. Graham, whom she was about to disappoint terribly. I've lost my library book, Stella whispered, trying not to cry. I'm so very sorry. Mrs. Graham smiled mysteriously, pulling something out from under the counter. For some strange reason, this was on the bench outside, she said. My book! Stella yelled. You found it! Joyful shouts burst from Stella's friends, and there was an excited buzz as everyone recalled their favorite parts again. Mrs. Graham agreed with them all. But what's your favorite part of the book? Stella asked her. Why, the same with every book, Mrs. Graham said. My favorite part is when someone reads it. So at 5 minutes to 5 o'clock, Mrs. Graham checked out a new book to Stella. and Miss Flynn, Duff Morton, the troop of scouts, the baby and mother, Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally Sam, and her father were all close behind. The end. So some parts of this book could actually happen. Think about the parts that could actually happen. A lot of this. And also think about what that book was. I bet you guys all know by now which book was lost. Okay, have a great rest of your day.